Starting off in our number 5 spot, we have the shape-shifting UFO. We love UFOs and aliens over here on Top 5 Scary, so when I saw this video, I couldn't wait to share it with you all. Since July last year, when Jordan Peele's UFO alien horror film Nope came out, it has opened up a lot of people's minds when it comes to UFOs and aliens and how endless the possibilities are. Spoilers here if you haven't seen it, but that giant octopus, squid, billowy ribbon UFO thing that actually is the alien isn't the little green men and flying saucers I'm used to seeing. You might be wondering why the hell I'm talking about this, and it isn't because this is a film review, it is because keeping all of these possibilities in mind, this video is unsettling, to say the least. I came across this video in the r/aliens Reddit thread, and it was posted by the user 678990655. They captioned the video, "UFO filmed shape-shifting at 30,000 feet from airplane window, 2021. Let's take a look at the first 10 seconds. Whoever took this video is clearly doing their absolute best to film whatever this thing is, and while the first 10 seconds are strange, to say the least, it's the last 10 seconds that really make me feel unsettled. I'm not sure how in a matter of seconds this thing went from like a fighter jet or a flying saucer to some sort of angelic looking being, but this is fully one of the strangest and most unexplained things I've ever seen while searching for compelling clips. Alright, in our number 4 spot today, we have the reptilian living among us. So let's dive into this intriguing video that's been making rounds. Apparently it was taken from someone's phone while watching a Fox News interview with Martha McCallum. Now during the interview there's this woman who looks a bit unusual with elongated slits in her pupils. It's hard to shake the feeling that there's just something off about her, almost like maybe she's not entirely human. Now here's the interesting part. Some viewers who watched it live didn't notice anything strange, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's all fake. Of course, we have to discuss that with today's advanced technology, digital manipulation is a piece of cake. You can practically do anything with just a few taps on your phone. Skepticism is healthy, but so is keeping an open mind. So this video found its way to a YouTube channel called UFO Mania, where people started to point out that this could be proof of some sort of reptilian shapeshifter species that lives among us. These reptilian beings are said to hold positions of power and influence, secretly pulling the strings behind the scenes. So back to the video. Unlike other clips that last for a mere moment, this one seemed to capture the woman's elongated serpent-like eyes for a significant portion of the entire segment. It's pretty eerie to watch, I must admit. According to some theories, these reptilians have been around for ages, way before recorded history. Some even claim that they live in underground areas or cities deep within the earth. Not only this, but some folks believe that these reptilian humanoids might be using us as a food source. Absolute nightmare fuel. They allegedly harvest humans and, well, eat them. Those mysterious disappearances each year might be linked to this very creepy scenario. Now, we're not entirely sure about their dietary preferences, whether they're carnivorous or omnivorous, but one thing's for sure. It's a very chilling thought to imagine being on their menu. Remember the old TV miniseries V? Well, it focused on different alien races coming to Earth, which seems oddly fitting given these reptilian theories. In the end, who really knows what's going on? Until we find out for sure, the mystery remains and the internet continues to be a fascinating place for such mind-boggling content. In our number 3 spot today, we have the shapeshifter caught on camera. This is a video that comes from the Souls Base Alien UFO Video Evidence File. I personally had not heard of this channel before, but for some of you who are maybe more well-versed in the shapeshifter alien world, you might be familiar. This video is definitely a grainy one that makes it hard to see, but the description claims that this video is of a reptilian humanoid first-time full body caught on camera, and that it is also the Pentagon's biggest secret. You know, if someone is claiming that a reptilian living among us was caught on camera, I'm of course going to bring it to you guys and let you decide what is going on here.
Kind of in whisper tones talk about the return of the Sumerian gods.
I watched this this video over and over again trying to figure out what exactly I was seeing, and I still can't quite place it. Another really strange thing about this video is that in the intro, before the clip starts and just at the beginning of it, there's like a sound bite from what sounds like some sort of interview where someone is saying that the biggest secret at the Pentagon is that the Sumerian gods are returning. The Sumerian religion was one that was practiced by the people of Sumer, which was the first literate civilization of ancient Mesopotamia. I'm not sure why or how they got these claims that these gods were coming back, but this is something I definitely had never heard of before. This ominous warning combined with the strange footage is definitely enough to send a chill down anyone's spine. People talk a lot about aliens in ancient times, and maybe somehow this is just all connected. In our number 2 spot today, we have the CCTV footage. This video comes from TikTok and was posted by someone with the username Native Starseed. They posted this video that appears as though it's CCTV camera footage from inside of an elevator, and also appears to show someone completely changing their appearance while on the elevator alone, and while also not moving at all. Honestly, when I let the clip replay, the jump from what this person looked like at the end to how they looked in the beginning is kind of shocking. As you're watching the video, it seems so gradual and subtle. It's easy to miss if you're not specifically looking for it, but when you have that harsh cut, it definitely becomes a lot more clear. Unfortunately, I couldn't find much more information about this video, such as where it came from, or if there were any follow-ups, so if you happen to know, let me know down below in the comments. If things really are that easy, I feel like now I'm gonna be skeptical of every person I see walking out of an elevator alone. Did they just shapeshift in there? If you happen to know someone who is a real shapeshifter or alien that was hiding themselves and blending into society, would you want them to reveal themselves to you, or would you just prefer to live your life not knowing? You know, ignorance is bliss. That's what they say, at least. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the news reporter Shapeshifter. Finally, at our number 1 spot, we have this TikTok posted by someone called M4PL7, and it appears as though their entire TikTok account is dedicated to posting content similar to this. It's safe to say that they likely are a huge believer of shapeshifters in the world around us. They start off the video by explaining that a man named Michael Brownlee was a former reporter for the LA branch, and that's not all, but that Michael also might have a history of transforming on camera. It appears as though some of the questionable moments could be chalked up to some other sort of explanation, but the TikTok points to one specific and bizarre recording that stands out compared to the rest. This video starts off like a seemingly normal on-location news report, but things quickly turn strange.
Now, we talk about the mother's arrest, but the mother says that her 16-year-old daughter, the victim in this case, was also arrested here back on September 18th. Now, keep in mind, this is the family story, their account of what they see happened here on campus earlier this month. Unfortunately, we weren't able to reach the school.
As the TikTok claims, this is a very strange situation, and it appears as though the cameraman might be in on what is really happening here. Not only mid-story, as something strange appears to be going on with the video, does the reporter jump out of frame for seemingly no reason at all, which is definitely strange for a reporter to do, but also quickly after that, the cameraman ensures to move the camera so that the reporter is safely out of frame. People in the comments also pointed out some other crazy things they felt like they saw in the video, one of the most popular things being his neck turning green. So what do you guys think? Weird coincidence or some proof that something is really out there?
Number 5. Queen Elizabeth. The late Queen Elizabeth was a legendary monarch. She served the most impressive reign of any sovereign ruler out there. It was like 80 years, and as such, she's host to all manner of conspiracy theory over the years, ranging from some fun, harmless ones to some wild and truly out of this world ones. But there's not an entirely small contingent of people who maintain that Queen Elizabeth and all of her and all the royal Windsor family are descendants of reptilian alien overlords after one of the original Windsors mated with a reptile man. This is why people believe the royals are protective of their bloodline and keeping the family clean. Okay, you still with me? The reptiles only accept the very best, and I guess Meghan Markle didn't meet their standards. But there's a lot of people who think the Queen herself was one. There's a good bit of pictures and footage showcasing the Queen with bizarre black ovaloid eyes. Take a look at some of these, where her eyes are all like completely black, swollen over, or like Sometimes she even has kind of like slit, like reptilian eyes. She looks way more like something out of a demonic possession movie more than anything else, if you're asking me. I think maybe possession over reptiles personally. Now, the Occam's razor most probable answer is that whatever's happening to her here was a bloodshot eye, and that's what people online said about these and what most people agree is causing this bizarre looking phenomena. And yeah, it was probably pretty likely that a very old woman had some health problems, but you have to admit it does look incredibly creepy, does it not? Kinda gives me that same vibe as in District 9 when Wickus was slowly turning into a prawn and started with him having a huge swollen yellow eye. So could the Queen have secretly been an alien overlord this entire time? I mean, it would certainly explain a lot of things. How she managed to stay looking that good for so long, and where all the power was really coming from. I think there's a Doctor Who episode about this exact thing. Now, if you want to watch more videos about wild conspiracies, cryptids, aliens, shapeshifters, and just about everything weird that goes bump in the night, subscribe to Top 5 Scary and keep the screams coming all night long. Now let's creep on creeping on. Number 4, JayZ. Hova is a lot of things. He's one of the most successful musicians of all time. He is a king of the Grammys. He's the first rapper to be inducted into multiple halls of fame he shouldn't even have been. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and to many, he's considered one of the greatest rappers of all time. His legacy precedes him. Now maybe it's because of his electric talent, his fast flow, his amazing production, or it could be because he's secretly powerfully connected to alien shapeshifters. Jay is the subject of numerous conspiracy theories regarding his overwhelming status. It's pretty popular to suggest that he's a puppet of the New World Order. He and his wife, and sometimes Ye gets involved in that too. That little diamond hand signal he flashes during shows is proof of his allegiance. That's him showing his hand to people. But there's also a very dramatic people who say on top of him being an Illuminati New World Order guy, he's also an alien shapeshifter and part of the race that secretly runs the planet. You see, a few years ago, several passengers of a United Airlines flight out of LAX claimed that they saw the billionaire Rockefeller Records mogul shed his human skin in front of all of them and reveal his true form to the passengers of the flight before saying some things about how the reptiles were controlling society. There are a bunch of tweets about this thing. There was like 20 to 30 tweets all coming out the same night, and I think we should highlight some of the more very entertaining ones. Very scary. He kept changing shape. He knew more and more people were watching, and he got angrier and angrier when he couldn't stop. Hashtag Reptilian JayZ. The blank hit the fan in business class when JayZ lost control and started shape-shifting in front of the other passengers. Now, I'm not gonna outright decry this theory and shoot this one right down and say that definitely JayZ is not a reptile shape-shifting alien. Now, just because there's no video evidence whatsoever doesn't disprove this, but I think the big issue here is, are you really gonna look me in the eyes and tell me that a guy who raps lyrics like, "What's 50 grand to a MF like me, could you please remind me?" You think he flies commercial? You think he flies commercial business class? You think JayZ flies United out of LAX? Are you serious? He's a lizard person who runs a cabal that runs the entire world behind the shadows, and you seriously think he's flying business on United? There's a better chance of them making a second Watch the Throne album than there is to this theory being true, but I'm gonna be honest, I thought it was absolutely hilarious, so that's why I kept it in the video. Number 3, Obama's alien detachment. Now, it's a long-held conspiracy theory that the US government knows a lot more about aliens than they let on. It's one we talk about in pretty great detail on this channel, and honestly, I think there's something there. I think it holds more water than some of the other wacky conspiracies out there. There's definitely a lot of weird facts and mysteries regarding the US government and alien technology. But how far does it go, do you think? Is it possible that there are already alien shapeshifters inside the government who've attained high roles protecting our most important targets? Now, perhaps you've seen this footage if you're an avid conspiracy theory enjoyer. This is a bit of an old one, but this footage of President Obama at a press conference circa around 2013 seems normal until you take a look at the bizarre features of the security guard, looking a lot more in common with a gray alien than any human I've ever seen. Take a look at this guy and tell me honestly you don't think he looks even just a little reptilian. Now, this raises some fascinating questions. If there are shape-shifting aliens in the Secret Service, How far up do they go? Are there aliens at every seat of government? And more importantly, do alien shapeshifters get the same worker benefits that a human would? That's what I'm curious about. Is this guy entitled to the same half-hour break and statutory holidays? Or because of his alien status, does he have to work on Christmas and New Year's and doesn't even get time and a half? These are the questions I want the answers to. Now, funny enough, the American government actually addressed this rumor and conspiracy, which is unusual because really they don't usually do that. But in this case, they felt it necessary. A spokeswoman for the National Security Council spoke out and said, "I can't confirm the claims made in the video, but any alleged program to guard the president with aliens or robots would likely have to be scaled back or eliminated in the sequester. I'd refer you to the Secret Service or Area 51 for more details." Now, what's interesting here is she goes out of her way to avoid saying the words reptilian shapeshifter. How convenient, dodging the question. Number 2, Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga seems like the most obvious choice if there was any celebrity who would later turn out to actually have been an alien shapeshifter. I think we all kind of already suspect this about her, to be honest. Of all the people on this list, she seems like the one that would be the most outwardly forthcoming about her extraterrestrial origins. In fact, she might have outwardly confessed it in an interview with Stephen Colbert, where she recently told audiences that she's always really liked shapeshifting. Now, in the context of this interview, they're talking about a movie and they're talking about her changing her look with her makeup and all of her wild, crazy Gaga outfits. But what if this was just a rare moment of honesty, you know? In the interview, it does almost look like she's about to say something, like she's got something hiding on the tip of her tongue. She mentions seeing her real self on the screen, but then she pauses and composes herself hiding behind her poker face. Oh, that was a dumb joke. I don't know why I left that in. Sorry, I'm struggling. A number of viewers on The Tonight Show made similar comments about this, and if you go onto the YouTube video for this particular interview segment and just scroll through the comments for a bit, it's literally wall-to-wall comments of people talking about how this is proof that she's confessed to everyone on live TV the truth about her alien nature. Gaga is another one, like JayZ, who's been the subject of conspiracies for years. Like a lot of celebrities, she gets all the Illuminati ones, or people saying that she sacrificed someone for her fame, or that she's got ties to the occult and the devil. There was even a funny hubbub where people thought she was making something levitate to display her newfound telekinetic abilities. So she's no stranger to it. Do you think that maybe she was just having a bit of fun, poking the hornet's nest, so to speak? How often do you use the word shapeshifting when you're describing changing your appearance, unless you're an alien shapeshifter? Or maybe Gaga knows the word shapeshift. If she says that in an interview, a bunch of people will go wild about it, trying to slow down video of her eyes doing something weird, and maybe she just thinks it's funny. I could see Lady Gaga doing a little bit of trolling. Number 1, George H. Bush. President George Bush Sr. was the 41st president of the United States. He was many, many things. He was a world leader, he was a father, he had a cameo appearance on one of the funniest episodes of The Simpsons ever, and to some, he could possibly be proof of the alien shapeshifters having successfully infiltrated the highest level of government and controlling everyone around him. Like basically every single president who's ever sworn into office, there are conspiracy theories about just about everything. There are some who say he was involved in JFK, and there are some who say he's an alien. Check out this highly reputable TikTok showcasing what looks like the president's eyes, shape-shifting into its true form, those reptilian slits. He's being interviewed by President Clinton about some important government stuff. But is it all just a charade to cover up that they're having a meeting of alien minds? Are they laughing and taunting at us behind the camera? There's this kind of like air of superiority in his face while he's talking, and honestly, even if you don't buy into the shapeshifter alien secret cabal conspiracy, there is something unsettling about this clip, but maybe he just also has a bit of an unsettling face. You know, something I wonder about a lot of these shapeshifting conspiracy theories is, do you think the aliens ever get like self-conscious about having to hide themselves all the time? I imagine it's probably pretty stressful upholding a globe-dominating conspiracy and also feeling like you have to wear a mask all the time and pretend to be somebody you're not. Like, I wonder if they ever just come home so tired and can't wait to take off their skin mask and let their tentacles out and let their true like reptilian fangs and show their real Zayton face and just kick back and be themselves. Like, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this clip. City seems like he just wants to go home and be himself.
Number 5, ancient mentions. Mentions of half-human, half-reptile beings date extremely far back. Many reptilian beings are seen in mythology from Greece, Egypt, South Asia, Maya, Eastern Asia, and South America. In almost all of these depictions, the reptilian beings were seen as objects of high standing, either as strong warriors, rulers, or godlike beings. In others, they were viewed as troublesome, evil beings who would enter civilizations and manipulate the system in their favor, without anyone being the wiser as to who the culprit of the issues was. In ancient Maya, Shok is the name of the god of rain and thunder. He is depicted having a human body, showing reptilian or amphibian scales, and an inhuman head with fangs and a long nose. He was viewed as a patron of agriculture. In the Bible, the serpent was a symbol of evil power and chaos, but it was also a symbol of fertility, life, healing, and rebirth. In Greek mythology, Echidna was half a beautiful woman and half snake. She was described as a flesh-eating monster who was neither mortal nor god. She did not age or die. She was made denizen of the underworld and was given 100 heads, presumably snake heads. In Japanese folklore, there is a creature called the kappa. Said to be roughly the size of a child, the kappa has webbed hands and feet, it's greenish yellow in color, and it has scaly or slimy skin. The kappa is capable of shifting the position of its limbs, seemingly absorbing an arm or leg through one side and protruding it out from the other. Yum. Despite their small frame, they are said to be stronger than a grown man. The kappa would grow upset and become harmful if they were not viewed and respected as gods. The depictions of reptilian humanoids definitely differ throughout ancient mythology, but the cunning, powerful, godlike view of them does ring true throughout most cultures' variations. When you compare that to conspiracies of modern day, like humanoid reptiles secretly ruling the world, the conspiracies start to sound a little more substantiated. Number 4, the Lizard Man of Scape Ore Swamp. The Lizard Man of Scape Ore Swamp is a being said to inhabit the swampland of the area. Its first mentions and sightings were in the 1980s, where it gained a lot of popularity from newspaper outlets, television programs, and radio shows. On July 14, 1988, Lee County sheriffs investigated a report of a car that had been damaged overnight while it was parked at home. The home was near the edges of the Scape Ore Swamp. The car was found with tooth prints, scratches with hair, and a trail of muddy footprints that were left behind. After hearing the news of the attacked car, 17-year-old Christopher Davis was encouraged to report his own damaged car. Christopher claimed to have seen a creature that attacked his car, describing it as green, wet-like, about 7 feet tall, with 3 fingers, red eyes, skin like a lizard, and scales like a snake. Seems like he really got a good look, huh? Christopher claimed to have been driving home at night and got a flat tire. After fixing it, Chris saw a creature walking towards his car. Christopher quickly got into his car and began to drive, but the creature jumped on top. Chris slammed on his brakes, causing the creature to roll off, and then Christopher took the opportunity to drive away. Reading this made me happy because there are too many people who are like, I'm just gonna get out and see what it was because it's dark and that seems smart to me. Anyway, the coverage on the story only increased after Christopher Davis publicized his claims. The press really helped the tourism and economy of the town. Shops began selling Lizard Man t-shirts and merchandise. Newspapers had so much to write about, and people came from all over in the hopes that they would catch a glimpse of the Lizard Man. Many people at the time did not believe Christopher's story, though the recount Chris provided never wavered or differed. Some people thought that Christopher's claims were nothing but a publicity stunt, as there had been no other sightings. Others questioned why the creature hadn't attacked anyone else, seeing as it had reacted so aggressively towards Chris. Some believe that the Lizard Man is possibly a living dinosaur, having evolved in the same way that primates did. Now they're bipedal creatures that hide in the shadows out of fear. And let's be honest, Homo sapiens don't have the best track record with uncanny creatures, so I could understand why lizard people would be hesitant to step into the spotlight. Whether the Lizard Man of Scape Ore Swamp is real or not, the attack on the car has still not been solved. What other creature could have possibly done that much unprompted damage to a still, unmoving vehicle? Number 3. Reptilian Conspiracy. Lizard people rule the world? Though the theory sounds absolutely insane when brought up in a single sentence with no other information, it actually does make some pretty interesting observations and hypotheses. So for these next few points, I'm going to ask you to open your minds and really listen, because it's pretty interesting and there's a lot to talk about. As I mentioned earlier, depictions of reptilian humanoids have been seen all throughout history. To summarize the humanoid reptilian conspiracy, many believe that a race of shape-shifting reptilians have infested the world, are running governments, causing uprisings, and have high-class influential standings. David Icke, a British conspiracist, believes that an interdimensional race of reptilian beings called Archons have hijacked the Earth and are stopping humanity from unleashing its true potential. He believes that a shapeshifting species of Archon human hybrids exists, and that they are members of the Illuminati or the Babylonian Brotherhood, which are organizations that manipulate global events. The Archons feed off of the negative energy and fear that these world events create. Icke believes that the first reptilian human breeding program occurred 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, and the most recent was 7,000 years ago. In an interview, Icke stated, "When you get back into the ancient world, you find this recurring theme of a union between a non-human race and humans, creating a hybrid race. From 1998, I started coming across people who told me they had seen people change into a non-human form. It's an old age phenomenon known as shapeshifting. The basic form is like a scaly humanoid, with reptilian rather than humanoid eyes." Icke also believed that there is another dimension which the reptiles originated from. So this is where the theory gets very hard to communicate with a straight face, but open minds, my mind is open. The reptiles in the fifth dimension order and control the humanoid reptiles in the fourth dimension, our dimension. He claims that they came here for a substance called monoatomic gold, which can increase the nervous system's capacity drastically. After ingestion, the humanoids can process large amounts of information. It speeds up transdimensional travel, and it allows them to shapeshift from reptilian to human. Some have given him credit, applying that he was using an allegory to demonstrate the alienating nature of capitalism. Icke refuses to accept that credit, as he often repeats that his theory is not an allegory. It is in fact literal. There are no hidden conspiracies beyond his conspiracy. Icke also believes that the Archon bloodline includes 43 American presidents, 3 British and 2 Canadian prime ministers, several Sumerian knights, and Egyptian pharaohs. The bloodline is also said to include the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, establishing families of the United States, and the British House of Windsor, and the British royal family. Number 2, caught in the act. Many have reported seeing the reptilian side of people. Now, how do they know? Here is a compiled list of features to look out for in this shape-shifting race. 1, reptilian eyes that can be seen if you look closely enough. Some say it's possible to spot them only in the midst of shape-shifting. 2, scales or hints of green that may be seen on the skin while a reptilian is transforming into its humanoid state. 3, hologram flickers. Reptilians are so good at hiding their identities that they often forget they're hiding such a big green scaly secret. Sometimes their disguise can become more apparent when their hologram skin glitches. 4, your intuition may alert you of a nearby reptilian. From some smaller sources, there are a couple more things that people will tell you to keep an eye out for. Eating raw meat, basking in the sunlight, eating live rats, having different colored blood, blinking less than the average person, walking slightly differently, drooling, eating live rats. Just strange, almost unnoticeable subtleties that very few people would question, like eating live rats. So, clearly, it is difficult to catch proof of a reptilian humanoid. I mean, most people would eat their live rats in secret. So you would first have to get close with them and spend a lot of time waiting to catch just a small glimpse of their mask slipping. Number 1, your fave celebs. Many celebrities have been caught on camera shapeshifting. Our favorite, David Icke, claims to have seen the former British Prime Minister Edward Heath's eyes turn jet black while waiting for an interview in 1989. In 2017, while performing at a concert in front of hundreds of people, Justin Bieber supposedly showed off his true lizard nature. Fans at the concert claimed to have seen gross colored scales all over Bieber's body. And in 2014, a video was released while he was under arrest for his DUI. In the video, his eyes blink in a completely inhuman way. No official explanation has been released, and non-skeptical minds simply believe it to be a technological glitch. In 2013, during an interview with Barbara Walters, Miley Cyrus's right pupil narrowed into a vertical slit, leading people to suspect she too belongs to a race of lizards. And this one wouldn't surprise me much. I mean, she isn't a stranger to secret identities. Her ability to shapeshift by just putting on a wig? Yeah, she definitely has some non-human talent. In a video of Rihanna, her eyes blur in such a way that people now believe she too is a reptilian humanoid. Mark Zuckerberg, who many often call inhuman, has also been accused of being a lizard person. But this one I find a little unfair because there's no actual proof. Many just believe his awkwardness and reactions to common situations are inhuman. And if that's all it takes to be accused of being a lizard, I think I may be on a lizard human watch list. Mark even posted a video denying the allegations, but even I have to say, the video wasn't very convincing. David Icke also said that Queen Elizabeth was seriously reptilian. Seriously, he said that. Many more celebrities have been caught on camera, shapeshifting or displaying lizard-like attributes, and they haven't been met with the most kindness. But if Rihanna was ever officially outed as a reptilian humanoid, I would just pretend she wasn't. Or I'd do a cute lizard look with my collection of Fenty products in support. Listen, it may sound outlandish, and many ridicule those who believe this story, but imagine how ridiculous you'd feel if it was proved true. Like, if you found out that your friend who is always eating live rats was actually a lizard person, you'd feel pretty silly.
Number 5, fake Melania. Alrighty folks, I'm kicking off today with my personal theory. Does anyone remember back in like 2017 to 2020 when Donald Trump was in office and videos of Melania looking a little off took over the interwebs? Specifically, the first hashtag fake Melania seems to have landed on October 13th of 2017 when a video of Donald and Melania Trump in a news segment was uploaded to Facebook by Andy Wagner. In the segment, Trump was talking to reporters when he mentioned Melania, who happens to be right here, he said, gesturing to the Melania-esque woman in sunglasses beside him. Melania doesn't speak, but she does nod a lot. 2 days later, Wagner put it on YouTube, and then she tweeted about it a few times, which went viral, and this spawned hashtag fake Melania. After that story went viral, Stephanie Grisham, the First Lady's communications director, went on CNN to do some damage control, saying that, once again, we find ourselves consumed with a ridiculous non-story when we could be talking about the work the First Lady is doing, including the opioid crisis that is gripping the nation. Very good attempt at taking the conversation in another direction. I know PR spin when I hear it. Here's my theory. What if Melania is an alien shapeshifter and the photos and videos caught her on an off day when she wasn't at full power? Similar to, Superman. Maybe there's something in our universe that acts as kind of a kryptonite of sorts for her, which is why she's so reclusive in her ways. Fake Melania puts the First Lady's reserved approach to her post in the East Wing under a magnifying glass. She did stay in New York City with her son for the first 5 months of Trump's term and rarely gave public comment in the first 2 years, which is a good way to avoid scrutiny from eagle-eyed folks looking for proof of alien DNA. A source close to Melania has claimed that she wasn't especially keen on being in the White House, and she even once disappeared from public life for weeks. Maybe she was, visiting alien relatives. Eventually, her office attributed the absence to a kidney ailment. Undeterred by Grisham's best efforts, and in spite of its sharply diminishing returns, fake Melania continued to froth up intermittently. The meme reared its head once again when Donald Trump and his wife visited Alabama, and percolated in the days afterwards, but eventually settled. Eventually, Trump weighed in on Twitter, because when was he not, saying that the fake news photoshopped pictures of Melania then propelled conspiracy theories that it's actually not her by my son in Alabama and other places. They are only getting more deranged with time. Honestly, maybe that's why Trump is so batty, being around alien tech all the time. Number 4, White House security. I guess since the US government covers up so much alien and UFO stuff, it makes sense that it could be one of the places aliens are either forced to work at or just work at for safety. Like I said a moment ago, maybe Melania got coaxed into living there by the other aliens in residence, but, pardon me, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a saying that the internet never forgets, and that's certainly true of old conspiracy theories that refuse to die. There's a video of a US Secret Service agent who, conspiracy theorists since 2013 have accused of being a reptilian shapeshifter. The video is nearly a decade old at this point, and stems from a speech given by former US President Barack Obama at a March 4th, 2013 policy conference held by the lobbying group American Israel Public Affairs Committee, also known by its acronym AIPAC. So in the video, conspiracy theorists zoom in on the Secret Service agent and accuse him of being a reptile, saying stuff like, "This was the day that the government was caught with a reptilian Secret Service agent in HD and they didn't deny anything." It raises some obvious questions, such as, if the government was trying to hide its reptilian agents, why put one in a highly visible position at a televised event? If reptilians are capable of shape-shifting to look like humans, why not just shape-shift into something less obvious, like a table or a chair? Do shape-shifting reptilians get full pay and benefits as government employees? Honestly, while this might be like a conspiracy theory, with the hours that the Secret Service must have to keep, it makes sense that a more advanced race would be best in charge of protection guidelines. In a March of 2013 story published by Wired, there's a quote from Caitlin Hayden, spokeswoman for the National Security Council, in which she refers to Obama-era budget cuts as, referred to as sequestration. I can't confirm the claims made in the video, but any alleged program to guard the president with aliens or robots would likely have to be scaled back or eliminated in the sequester. I'd refer you to the Secret Service or Area 51 for more details. So alien guards have gotten a raw deal through the sequester. So the White House didn't clarify if its reptilian Secret Service agents are subject to the furloughs without pay that were affecting federal employees at the time. They may have prevented Obama from falling into the clutches of an intergalactic conspiracy, that is if the president wasn't in on it from the start. One theorist claims that he literally looked for the video everywhere and couldn't find it. The only place it exists now is Reddit, so if the government is trying to hide the video, it's doing a pretty inadequate job. The reptilian theory has been floating around for years, with one of its more prominent promoters being David Icke. Or Ike. I couldn't really find a pronunciation. The conspiracy claims that a race of reptilians is secretly controlling the world, pulling the strings in major human atrocities like the Holocaust. David, who is English, has been barred from holding events in countries like the Netherlands and Germany over some really bad conspiracy theories. Number 3, Wolf Boy. In a video titled Part 2, we called him Weird Boy, Wisconsin investigator Donna Fink told of her 2012 sighting of a strange werewolf-looking boy in a strange white van. She started off by making sure to show the viewers where she first saw where the boy/shapeshifter, or who knows what. Now she's adamant that she doesn't know what he was, but the incident took place in Rock County, Wisconsin, between Milton and Whitewater on a bright sunny Sunday afternoon at around 3 o'clock. So the weekend before, she had gone into the woods, her Bigfoot research area, and while she and her husband were in the woods, they heard a loud buzzing rhythmic sound, described as similar to a transformer type sound, and it was really loud and repetitive. The duo couldn't figure out what it was, and then they heard a branch crack, like a really big one, and as they were exiting the woods, they passed a mud hole that they had observed on their way in, but this time there were 2 wolf prints, so Donna paused to take photos. They thought it was strange because they hadn't seen a wolf anywhere, and it's only 1 square block of woods by a farm. This is where I'm waving my suspicious red flag and telling them to never return to the area, but that's what they did the next weekend. Granted, I wouldn't be talking about it today if they didn't return. When Donna and her husband were approaching their Bigfoot research area the following weekend, driving on the left shoulder of the road, they noticed what they described as a wereboy. He looked normal at first until he looked up at the duo, when they noticed that he had huge teeth and matted hair, like he'd been living under a rock or a bridge or goodness knows where. When the duo saw him, they screamed in unison and made a U-turn so they could go back and get video and pictures of him, because he was so weird looking that he could not be completely human. His teeth were very big and flat, twice the size of human teeth, and instead of the white teeth one would expect to see, they were yellow, green, and brown streaked. You could see the upper row and lower row of teeth in, a grimace. Not super friendly. His eyes were a little bit darkened around the rims, had a normal nose, and a little bit of a brow ridge. He had on clean clothes though, which was kind of strange. They described it as a plaid shirt, a navy blue hoodie that was partially zipped up, and blue jeans, which were all completely normal, but then on his feet, he had canvas slip-on tennis shoes. But apparently the weirdest thing was he had something like a muzzle, but not a big one, more like a chimpanzee. Donna and her husband were terrified of what the possible outcome of the situation could be, and decided to go down by the cemetery, turn around, get the video cameras and cell phones out, and overall just be ready to take a video and, pictures. But out of nowhere, a white double-decker panel van, looking completely brand new, like no markings on it whatsoever, pulled up near the wereboy. And while Donna isn't sure how many people were in the van, she remembered seeing one man in just a regular shirt, no uniform or anything, making a U-turn, pulling up along next to that creature, getting out. The door opened on the side of the van, boy got in, and zoom, everybody's gone. So Donna and her husband looked down every side street, every driveway, every single direction they could think of, but the van just completely disappeared. Now, while she did categorize this as like a werewolf spawning, I more believe it was an alien shapeshifter since it was daylight, and werewolves tend to only come out at night. Number 2, not deer. While this spawning could technically be classified as a cryptid spawning, I'd like to bring forth the theory that some of the creatures we might consider to be cryptids might actually be from other alien worlds that have accidentally wound up on our planet, or purposefully. This video was courtesy of user ValWho on TikTok, who opened their front door to a creature that almost looks like a deer, but missing ears, and the eyes are definitely not in the right spot. For reference, not deer are described as looking like a deer from a distance, but as one looks at it longer or it gets closer, something about it is pretty off. Their movements are described as similar to a newborn deer, but appearing as an adult, with some theory suggesting the creature is double jointed, kind of like me, or has additional joints in its limbs. The most defining feature, however, is that not deers don't have eyes on the sides of their head, but rather the front, like a predator, kind of like what you see in this video. They tend to mostly frequent Tennessee, but this spotting allegedly came from somewhere in Southern California, which honestly would be a good place to land a UFO. My theory? It was an alien creature doing recon that was caught trying to morph into a deer to blend into the surroundings, but missed a few steps or got caught early. Number 1. Queenie. May she absolutely rest in peace, but honest to goodness, no one lives that long without having some sort of secret. If you look closely at the video in question, particularly at the Queen's eyes, something is just a little bit off. Being in power for 70 years without slipping up in one's disguise is a feat I absolutely commend her for. But at the same time, after that faux pas, she retreated more and more from very public events, probably to protect her identity. Look, I'm not the only one with this theory, and I know it. There's quite the popular theory out there that the Draconian Martians are a superior race of being, and that over time they've traveled to Earth and either organically become our leaders or replace those already in charge to lead up to their end goal. And before someone says that's far-fetched, similar tales exist all through history, dating back to fairies and changelings, which is honestly something I also believe in.
Starting us off at number 5 is the late Queen Elizabeth II. Now, before I do a deep dive into this list, let me just make sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to the alleged alien lizard race that takes up most of our shape-shifting sightings today. There are many out there who believe our world is infested with an entire race of alien lizards who came down from the constellation Draco and have taken over the bodies of the world's most influential leaders and celebrities. These lizard people, if you will, have allegedly infiltrated all of the positions of power in our world, and according to the believers out there, the monarchy is no exception. Now, on to the late Queen. It's no secret that there are quite a lot of people out there who are not big fans of the royal family, and while for some it might just be about an overall lack of likeness towards the monarchy, there are many out there whose hatred stems from a deep-seated belief that everyone in the royal family are in fact shape-shifting lizard people. This all started from some footage that was found online of the Queen, where some particularly strange eyes seem to appear out of nowhere. In the video, the Queen is standing at what appears to be a game of sorts, and then all of a sudden her eyes change to look almost like some sort of crazy demon. Immediately, people were freaked out and jumped to the conclusion that it was because she was a shape-shifting lizard, but others blew it off as just her having bloodshot eyes. But just take a look at that for yourself here. Now, I don't know about you, but I have never seen a bloodshot eye that was completely black before. I'm just saying. Either way, it's scary to look at. As you can imagine, this footage did not help the royal family's rep of being from the constellation Draco, and only further cemented the belief that they are all evil lizards. But is it a shape-shifting lizard or something else equally spooky like a demon? What do you think? Moving on to number 4. Katy Perry. From what I have come to understand about the conspiracy race of the shape-shifting reptiles that supposedly walk this earth with us, is that two things are very important. Number 1, as we touched on in the last point, is that more often than not, they are a celebrity or a leader of some sorts. And number 2, it is usually the eyes that give them away. Why the eyes? I don't know. Maybe their eyes are the hardest part to control shape-shifting wise, like an angsty teenager that can't help but roll their eyes when their parents ask them to do the dishes. Again, I'm not totally sure to be honest, but either way, there are definitely some strange videos circulating the internet out there with some weird stuff going on in the eyeball region. One of the celebs that people found a spooky video of with some weird eyeball action is none other than Miss Teenage Dream herself, Katy Perry. The footage that brought her into this conspiracy theory comes from an interview she did years ago, where for just a millisecond it appears like her eyes change color from a sort of blue to a green, and just for a second it looks like her pupils turn into slits. Now, let's think for a second. A shape-shifting pupil of sorts is possible with certain substances in your system, and they can also change from larger to smaller depending on the brightness in the room. But I'm not entirely familiar with a scenario that can change it from a round shape to a thin slit-like pupil. Plus, apparently, a calling card of these lizard people is that they all have green eyes in their lizard form. So her eyes supposedly changing to green was seen as proof of her real lizard self peeking through. My question is, does the green eyes thing only apply in shapeshifting scenarios? Cause like, lots of regular people have green eyes. Hell, I have green eyes. Does that make me a lizard person? Would I know if I was one? I would, right? I'm probably safe. Next up, in our number 3 spot, we have Isaiah Cary. Now, of course, according to the theory, there are supposed to be tons of shapeshifters in the high status rungs of the corporate, political, and Hollywood ladder. But, you know, even lizard people have to start somewhere and work their way up, I guess. Several years back in 1995, there was a reporter for NBC who became an overnight sensation after a hilarious video of him swallowing a grasshopper aired during a live broadcast. Initially, people totally fell in love with him because he had such a huge reaction and completely switched up his entire demeanor after he accidentally swallowed the bug. However, not too long after, some people started pointing out that something was a little off about the video, which led to tons of online viewers beginning to wonder if swallowing the bug was an accident after all. Maybe he wasn't just some random newscaster. Maybe he was actually an evil shape-shifting alien trying to ruin your life, or something like that, I guess. The theory started because what's strange about this video is that if you pay really close attention, it does look like his tongue is actually aiming for the bug, just like a frog reaching for a fly. Not to mention, he has quite a big tongue compared to most people, and it kinda even looks a little pointy. Is a pointy tongue the sign of a shapeshifter? I don't know the answer to that. But either way, after he swallows the bug, he immediately turns away from the camera, and some have suggested this is to hide any further evidence that he was actively shape-shifting at the time. Now, to be fair, I would probably turn away from a camera if a bug flew into my mouth without warning on live television too. But still, the way that it seems he is reaching for the bug is a little bit strange. I don't know, man. Either way, this video is hilarious, so let me know what you think. Evil reptile or just a funny human? Moving on to number 2, a security guard. So along with the monarchy, celebrities, and a newscaster from the 90s, another huge group of people that often become associated with shape-shifting are politicians. People like Obama, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi are often common targets of the shape-shifting conspiracy. But what about all the people who work for them? Could the entire government just be infiltrated by shapeshifters? I mean, it goes without saying that presidents are not gonna really go anywhere without their security guards. And honestly, what do we really know about their security? If there is reason to believe that all politicians themselves are a part of the evil alien lizard race, then wouldn't it make sense that their protection would be too? Well, speaking of, back in 2012, during a speech being made by former President Obama, footage of the audience captured a peculiar looking security guard in the crowd. At first glance, you might just think it looks like a pale, bald dude standing there, but when they pan to the side, it straight up looks like he has no ears. I mean, what is going on here? It's giving Voldemort, if you ask me. Even weirder is when the video zooms in, if you really pay attention, it kind of looks like his head is pulsating, which, truth be told, I have no clue what that could be about, but lots of people have come forward saying it is definitely footage of him shapeshifting right before our very eyes. I mean, would that mean that everyone in the CIA is a lizard person, or just a select few? I want to know how it's decided, what people get to be taken over by alien lizard overlords. Who's in charge of the coordination of these lizard people? Does their leader take over as the leader in our world, and then they put their subordinates in positions below them? Or is the leader back in Draco, handling that side of things, and they have these like agents that travel to our planet and take over our world? I just want to know how it all works. It seems like there'd be a lot of organizing and coordination involved if all the people that are supposed to be lizard people actually are. What do you guys think? And last up, in our number 1 spot today, we have a goat. Okay, so full disclosure, this one wasn't actually caught on video, so I don't have live footage to share with you guys, but nevertheless, I have to share this one with you because it might just be the most entertaining out of all of these on the list. Now, that being said, if it turned out to be true, my entire understanding what is possible and not possible would absolutely 100% be shattered, which would be obviously terrifying. So I hope this goat did not do what they think it did. In 2009, Nigerian police arrested a goat. Why is that, you ask? Well, apparently they believed someone had shapeshifted into it. Apparently a group of vigilante men came to report that while they were on patrol, they saw some hoodlums attempting to rob a car, and so they pursued them. However, according to their story, one of the thieves transformed into a black and white goat, and the other got away, claiming that the robber had used black magic to transform himself into an animal and escape. Now, that alone is a wild enough story, but remember, the police actually arrested this shape-shifting goat and held the animal / potential robber man in custody for further investigations. Reportedly, the police said, quote, "One of them escaped and the other turned into a goat. We cannot confirm the theory, but the goat is in our custody. We cannot base our information on something mystical. It is something that has to be proved scientifically, that a human being turned into a goat." Now, I have tried very hard to find out what happened to this goat since. Was it released? Did they, make the problem go away? I have no idea. I couldn't find any updated articles, but it may just be the most outrageous case of a shapeshifter I have ever read about.